Absolutely. So we have digitization in financial services. Is it a game changer or not? We're going to understand the three presentations. I'd like to call onto the stage Mr. Norris Koppel from Monese and also Egor Avetisov from Privatbank. Thank you, please. Egor, where are you? So he's coming as well. And also John Orhun from E-Güven. So we will be receiving three presentations. Hello, you're welcome. And then maybe receive some couple of questions.
Really good to be here. Very ambitious and bold statement. Some may laugh, some may disagree, but let me tell you why I think this may be the case. So let me start with a short story. There was a guy back in early 1900s living in San Francisco. His name was A.P. Giannini. And he came from very humble beginnings. He was the son of a farmer. They actually did pretty successfully, and he became a banker at some point. He sat on a board on a big bank in San Francisco, and he started questioning why this bank is not serving Italian immigrant farmers. And the bank said, no, these guys have no money, and they are risky, and we will lose money, and when we lend to them, and so on. And this guy, A.P. Giannini, actually decided to create his own bank and walk away from the bank that he was part of earlier. So he called this bank Bank of Italy. And he was almost exclusively working with customers, Italian immigrant farmers, and he started lending these guys money based on how they spoke to them, how they looked, basically looking person to the eye, trusting them, and so on. And he was so successful by lending to those who were underserved, immigrant markets, immigrants basically, that this bank became so big and immensely successful that it became the largest bank at the time that is now called Bank of America. What I'm trying to make a point here is that people move around more than ever before. I myself, I'm from Estonia. I moved to the UK many years ago. And I couldn't open a simple bank account. I was an immigrant, I was an outsider, I couldn't get a proper service. And right now, obviously, I live in the UK and Monese is headquartered there. What is happening is that even with or without Brexit, the world is now becoming a more open place. People are moving around. Here I am in Turkey. Took me 3 hours to fly here, and people are basically moving. They are not necessarily dying in the same place where they were born. This poses an interesting dilemma. There is a big problem that no one is really talking about. If you move to another country, you find it very difficult to open a bank account. Same happened to me. So here we are in this digital era, talking about banking and digitalization in banking and so on. Sorry about this. I had Coke just now, Coca-Cola, not the other one. So what is happening with banking at the moment? That we are trying to get rid of branches. We're trying to make everything on mobile phones, so customers can download. They can, farming advice and all that stuff. This is really, really cool, right? But what is kind of a left, little bit. There is no attention to it, is that identification, customer KYC, and the ability to actually onboard those people who are coming from abroad. This has received no attention. So what's happening is, when someone is coming from abroad, has no documents, no footprint in the new country, then it's really, really difficult to open a simple bank account, access to credit cards, and so on. And this really boils down to a couple of reasons. So first of all, banks would love those customers, right? If I'm from the outside, I fly to Turkey tomorrow, I'm sure Turkish banks would actually want my money and want my business. But the tricky part is that if I come without any credit history, there is no footprint that goes with me, they can't actually make any proper lending decisions. They can't lend me money, which means I'm likely to be a costly customer and no profit with me. So we thought, how do we approach banking from the new, fresh perspective? Maybe we should leave credit completely aside and only focus on knowing truly who the customers are, looking at the KYC data, and not looking at the KYC data in the country where customer is moving to, let's say in the UK, but actually going back to the roots and trying to harvest the data from there in order to make decisions. So back to my very ambitious claim here. What we have found is tons of new challenger banks, non-banks, neobanks, light banks. M-Bank was on the screen before. Wonderful example how one can digitize the whole experience and so on. But people are really not focusing on the very large population. We're talking about billions of people here who are completely outside the system at the moment. So I think what we're trying to achieve here actually can be very much achievable. What Monese is really doing. We are not a bank. We are regulated. We are lightly regulated. We can control the KYC. We can control customer funds. We can basically behave exactly like a normal bank. Issue bank accounts, cards, payments, and we can do this on a global scale. We have less minimum capital requirements, and our sole focus is on KYC. So we use modern technology to extract passport information when customers on board. Customers download the app, they go through the whole thing in 2 minutes in real time. You guys living here in Istanbul right now, you fly over to London, no bank will give you an account, but Monese will. As I mentioned about the KYC, so how our whole business is built on KYC. So if any of you think that this guy is probably doing something legal or unregulated, that's not the case. Mentioned briefly earlier that when someone tries to open a Monese account, they download the app, they go through the passport verification, and when we try to understand where customers are coming from and get their information and data, we are not going to the local data sources. In the new country where customers are arriving, we are actually going back to the roots. We are going to the country where a customer is coming from and harvesting information from there. So what we have built to date is a light banking service. We have very much global focus. We were the very first UK-based mobile bank account that launched in 2015. Now there is plenty. As part of our expansion plans, we are now open in 20 countries. So when you download Monese app today, you can open UK bank accounts. You can open also a bank account in any of the 20 European countries, which is pretty cool. The whole experience is seamless. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. You could be Turkish, you could be Estonian, you could be living in Germany. You can actually open a UK bank account from your bedroom in Germany. Customers seem to love us also. So we have 9.1 ratings in Trustpilot. But one thing I also want to say before I leave is that none of this would be possible if we didn't partner with other financial institutions than banks. This is the only way we are actually going to be able to be a truly global and inclusive service. So right now we are working with 3 banks, 1 in the UK, 2 in Europe. And for example, if you ever want to come to Turkey, we are very likely to be partnering with a local bank. So I invite you, bankers, to talk and be open. And let's partner. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So let's carry on with Egor Avetisov from Privatbank, and also let's hear his presentation. You have fully 10 minutes. Thank you, Egor.
Okay, so hello guys. My name is Egor, as were mentioned before. Yeah, thank you. And I'm from Privatbank. I'm a head of innovation of Privatbank. This is the biggest bank in Ukraine and the 8th largest bank in Eastern Europe. I want to give you some numbers before I start. We have 16 million customers. We have 30,000 employees. We have 2,500 branches. We have 7,500 ATMs, almost 30,000 self-service kiosks. And we had all chance to become, this dinosaur bank without any digitalization, without any mobile application. But now We have 10 million customers that use our internet bank, and we have 5.5 million customers that use our mobile application bank. And we have 700,000 visits in our branches per day, and more than 2 million visits in our digital channels. And last month, we saw that we have more visits from mobile application than from a web version of our internet banking. It's obvious that to manage such amount of customer, we have to create a huge IT infrastructure. That's why almost 18 years ago, our former CTO, Alexander Dubilet, started the process of digitalization. We made a huge amount of bad decisions, you know, a little bit less amount of good decisions. We write an endless amount of code. And it's a very big story, but I want to focus on the last few years. In 2008, the former CTO, on the meeting with head of IT departments, said the following thing. He said, every department have to create an API for system for the next 3 months. Why do we need them, he was asked. I don't know, but I will cut the bonuses for every person who doesn't do that. So we have few hundred APIs in the first year. It was the turning point in our banking history. We became a digital bank. In 2010, we became the first bank in the world that opened API for the third parties. Okay, the Chris Skinner, actually, do you know who's Chris Skinner? He's author of the Digital Bank book and Value Web. In Value Web, he mentioned our bank. So here's the quote that blah, 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 Privatbank is cool. He's open API, the first in the world. And everything was very nice. We have API for front ends, like online banking, branches, services. We have APIs for back-end system, but we still have had a problem because it was so hard to create new products. Do we have bankers here? The people who work in the banks. And do we have startups? Okay, so startups, you don't know nothing about that. you can even imagine how it's hard to create new product inside the big bank. So it took from 3 to 6 months to deliver new simple product on the market. And of course, the problem was obvious because we have always the middleman between the business people and ready-made product. And who is the middleman? Who is the middleman? Who knows? Developers. So, you know, I don't know any business person who is satisfied of speed of developing. Yeah? Maybe someone here. So hello, if you're here. And we decided to find a solution that allow us to solve this problem. We checked a lot of different systems, BPM, you know, this okay, core banking system, if you know, it's all expensive, it's all very, you know, so long to implement all this stuff. And finally, in 2014, we met a young American startup. I don't want to mention the name, it's not a commercial for them. And they deliver a product that allows us to remove middlemen from this process. And the tool allows business people and business analysts, managers, create business processes with using already existing APIs. So it's like a kind of assembling Lego. Do you know what is Lego? Yeah? Lego. So it's the same thing to create business processes with already made APIs with this tool. I will show you one thing. So I absolutely in love with it. Blah, 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 where it is. Okay. So here you can see this is a live process. It's working right now in real time. We have, you know, the connection with internal servers of our bank. This is a working process of mobile top-up. So this is not like a picture. I can change it. And I will show you the statistics. Yeah. It's It's working right now. So here you can see the real-time flow, and you can see each second how much customers tries to top up their mobile application. You can see 11, so, I don't know, it's 12, 24, 63 each second customers, the customers who tries to top up their mobile phone. And that process was assembled not by developer, but by business analyst, the manager who is responsible for the business, not responsible for, writing the code. Okay. You can see, if you know the Ukrainian language, of course, and if you have some education from the school, you will understand the logic of this process in 10 minutes. Every one of you can just track it and say, okay, I can see here you are going to API of this system and that system. So this is very simple to create processes for us. Now let me... So, and there is how it looks, the assembler. What we achieved with this product. Actually, we have 80,000 processes in Privatbank, such processes that I showed you in a few seconds ago. And the vast majority of these processes was created by business people, but not developers. We increased the speed of innovation dramatically. It's a matter of weeks to run new product in Privatbank right now. So it's around, I don't know, maybe 10 new products per month we can run to test it, to make an MVP, to understand will it be profitable or not. Even HR department became IT department. God save us from that. So this is application they made. This is application that tracks activity of all 30,000 employees of our bank. So what they do, they match location of a particular smartphone that's, for example, my smartphone, and match the location of the office where I should be during my working day. And the time, for example, I have to be in my office in 8 o'clock in the morning. So they match these three measurements, and they have a calendar. So, okay, you were on your office, this day is okay, you're working this day. If I'm, I don't know, late in particular day, the bonuses for the day will be cut for me. Automatically, without any punishment, just automatically. Another thing, before 2040, our internet bank, the team of our internet bank, consists of 40 people, developers, managers, business analysts. Today, it's 14 people, 6 developers and 8 business analysts. We didn't fire all these developers. We just allow them to create new APIs, develop new system, develop new products instead of maintain the code. And actually, Private24, the bank, I heard in the previous session, someone said that banks should find new revenue streams. So we create like a financial marketplace with our internet banking. So for example, except classic banking, in our internet bank you can order taxi. We're the biggest competitor for Uber in Ukraine. You can pay for the parking in all large cities in Ukraine. You can pay for the public transportation in 20 cities in Ukraine. You can buy tickets on train. You can buy tickets on plane. This all generates alternative stream. So we have discount cards inside our mobile application. And you don't have to go to the supermarket, fill the form to get this digital card. You just go to the application and say, I want this discount card of, for example, Metro. Do we have Metro in Turkey?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you have to go to Metro, fill the form. After that, they have to issue your card, plastic card. In Ukraine, you have to just press the plus here and say, okay, I want a Metro card. And we will deliver that card in a few seconds just in your smartphone, in Private24. Oh, this is my favorite thing for the last year. we know our customers. Our KYC is, the huge. And it's like 20 million customers in our database, live customers. And the government asked us to help them to create electronic democracy. So we deliver questions from the government directly to our customers, from the government and local community. For example, here we asked the government of our capital city, Kiev, asked, can we spend around 1 million hryvnias, it's local currency, for creating, for repairing, it's like for the young sailors, like for the children, special base for children. And the citizens of the Kiev have to vote yes or no. So I absolutely in love. We made 4 elections last year with more than 100,000 people took part in this voting. And this year we will connect 100 cities with more than 1 million participants, I hope. So thank you. And 3 more things, last thing, I'm sorry. So if you want to build a digital bank, you have to, the first thing, you have to have a CEO who believes in technology. You have to create an APIs. It's mandatory. Without APIs, you can't do anything. Yeah, and you have to transform the state of mind of your employees. In Privatbank, every employee knows what is API, what is code, and all this stuff about technology. I can tell you, all top managers, even head of accounting department, even head of HR department, have to pass exams on JavaScript and MySQL. It's not a joke. If they didn't pass, if they don't pass, they have to pay, how to say that, charge? Charge? What? Yeah, fine. Yeah, they have to pay fine. So you don't have to have IT department. You have all IT company, even if you're a bank. Thank you very much.
Thank you. May I have you on the seat, please? Okay, so for the third presentation, I'd like to call on Jonathan from E-Güven, please. Welcome. So yeah,
Thank you very much.
10 minutes.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Norris.
Yeah, you go.
Hello. First, I would like to thank you to all audience to participate to our meeting today, to our presentation today. I would like to thank the organization to have us here. For today, I would like to talk about 2 assumptions of, I would like to talk about KYC, knowing our customers issue topic, and 2 assumptions of our company, E-Güven, about the KYC topic. First of all, just a few words about our company. Maybe there are some audience here that did not hear about E-Güven. E-Güven is established in 2003. The first aim was of establishment of E-Güven is to give services, to give managed security services to the bank, to the financial institutions. And in 2005, E-Güven was the first authorized company by DTK to be able to issue digital certificates in Turkey. And so far, in 13 years, E-Güven issue mobile signature and digital certificates for the citizens to be able to use B2B applications, B2C applications, or C2G applications. Of course, E-Güven, our company, did not content only just for issuing certificates and would like to focus on the developing new solutions, innovative solutions for our customers, and responding any needs and facilitating the life for the citizens and for our customers and for the banks or for other institutions. Additionally, E-Güven is the first and the leader mobile signature service provider in Turkey as well. So I can say that about 99% mobile signatures issued so far in Turkey issued by E-Güven. Just a couple of numbers. Nowadays, these are monthly numbers. E-Güven verified 25 million certificate transaction monthly, and by E-Güven issued certificates, about 500,000 transactions occur today in 1 month. So, coming to the KYC issue, we know that KYC is one of the most important issues for the banks, not for the banks, for the financial institutions, for e-commerce companies, for insurance companies. It's a very important issue. We know that there are very tough requirements, very tough regulations about the KYC. For banks, it's come from the BDDK, some have come from the BTK, and there are very tough regulations. It is very normal to have tough regulations because KYC consists two very sensitive topics. First topic is the customer itself. They are very sensitive. And the second topic is the information of the customers, and these are very sensitive as well. That's why it's very important. So we know that today a bank with more than 100,000 customers should spend more than 100 million US dollars today just for KYC and just for client onboarding. That's a big number, that's a big money. That's why there should be do something over here, and we have to do something over here. KYC is a complex operation. There should be data standardization because it has to depend, it's based on some regulations as well. As the personal information of the customer, of our customers, saved in local database, there's always a risk of hacking the information, and we heard sometimes that happens. And to be able to face this risk, we have to have new, prevent them with new applications. On the other hand, as it is against very sensitive information, there should be very high and very secure security controls. But unfortunately, sometimes we know that if we increase the security controls, that may cause bad customer experiences. That's why we have to have the balance over here. So now I would like to talk about two solutions to assumption about E-Güven KYC solution. One is the existing solution, mobile signature. The other one is a fairly new solution. We plan to launch in April. It was based on blockchain, actually. The mobile signature is just a real electronic signature, actually. So in 2005, when we started to issue first the signature, we saw that it's hard sometimes for the customer to use it, because if you want to use a digital signature, you have to have a USB token regarding to digital signature law, and then you have to have a PC and you have to have a desktop computer. You have to use the USB token to be able to sign any transaction. And after that, we worked with Turkcell a long time, about more than a half year, and we plan to bring this digital signature in an easier way, and we know that the easier way was the mobile environment. So we create the signature not in the USB tokens, but in the SIM cards of the mobile phones. And now it's very easy. If you have a mobile phone, it's very easy to be able to sign any contract or any transaction on anything, or authenticate yourself very easily internet. So we think that is a very innovative application, because this one is one of the first in the world with the on-card key generation application. That means that for the security, we create public key and private key in the card, and private key never quit SIM card, and that is one of the most securest way of doing it. When we create this application, when we went live with this project, actually there is no regulation for mobile signature. Yes, we have a digital signature law. We have since 2003, we have regulations. The law defines all kinds of things about digital signature, how we should use it, how a ESP can issue the digital signature, but there is no declaration for the mobile signature. After we go live, after we created use cases, and after a number of banks started to use the mobile signature, the regulated bodies checked the market, see the use cases, and after that, they define the regulations. This one is, I think, one of the most important issue, because today we're talking about the blockchain, and I have said that, yes, blockchain is a very important application, is a very important platform, but there is no regulations. But I think that if we can be able to create some applications, create new cases, and start to use them in the market, I'm sure that the regulated bodies check to the market, and after that they can do it much more easily. Sometimes use cases are front wheel, I can say, that the regulation come next. So our second approach to the KYC solution is based on blockchain. We will have a new solution, and we will launch it in April, I think. The productization work goes in parallel with it. I will not go in very detail about blockchain is, but just a few words about it. Blockchain is actually distributed databases platform. So you will not, you do not save a data in a central database, but you save them synchronized in different databases. It's a combination of 3 different technologies. It's internet, the other one is the private key technology, and the third one is the protocol intentions, actually. So when you want to share any application or any data, any of your personal data in the blockchain, you create it, or the application is created as a data, get the hash of them, encrypt them, and then put a timestamp on them, and add previous blocks, so a chain will occur in the platform. And each node in the network store the same data synchronized, so any data will stay in a number of nodes, and of course encrypted, and anytime if you want to reach them, all nodes can be able for you to get the information from that. So nowadays there are a number of KYC solutions that work on blockchain. They're all very nice applications. If you go to App Store, if you go to Android Play, you can find a number of KYC applications that work on blockchain. Of course, most of them are still in pilot phases because there are still not regulations, but I can say that they will be one of the most important things for the KYC solutions. So what does the current KYC solution on blockchain, if you look at it, it's very easy. That work very well. They are good solutions. So you load the application on your phone. You load the wallet on your phone. After that, just once, you enter your personal information, your ID number, your name, your surname, your address, your email address, or some other thing. And after that, if you want to share this with a company, for a bank, for example, mostly your application and you make a handshake with a through a QR code with the application, and then you can share very securely and very easily your information with the bank or with the organization. What are the benefits of the current application? So just 4 steps. Companies can simplify their user experiences. User needs submit their data just only once. As the operation shared with other organization, it reduces the cost for the organization, and ID data is accessible for anywhere, for everyone. So E-Güven approach for KYC on blockchain is almost in basic the same. We will do the same thing, but we plan to add some additional features on the KYC solutions, because we know that sometimes self-declaration information, most of the time for the banks, sometimes for other institutions, self-declaration ID information is not enough for the banks or for the companies. There should be some secure or some pre-verified way of doing it. So what we're going to do is that we plan to put 2 different layers on a blockchain. First layer is e-signature. Second layer is e-certificate or digital ID. What we want to do is that if you have a digital signature or if you have a mobile signature, you easily load your application. And after that, if you have a certificate, for example, for 3 years, just once in 3 years, you will sign a simple data in the app. And after that, your personal information will load in the app, but the personal information will not be a self-declared information, but companies, certification authorities, companies like E-Güven will verified information we will load in the app, I can say. So what does it mean? With the approach we plan to launch in April, the data your customers share with you for on KYC on blockchain will not be the data your customer enters by himself or herself. It will be data pre-verified by an authorized company, by a CA, by a certification authority. And that's why it must be much more secure than a self-declared information. It will get all credentials, just an information. For example, today in the European Union, all digital signature operation depends on European e-signature directive. Today in 31 countries in EU, there are about 200 certification authorities, and all 200 certification authorities are in trust list. That means if a customer in any company, in any country, in EU, get a certificate, get a digital ID, get a digital signature, that means that this digital signature will be valid in 31 countries. So as it depends on a legal authority, it depends on a legal approach, it's easy to have a legal identity for that one. And we hope that in the future, because we always say that never overestimate blockchain in a very short time, but never underestimate in mid-term. So that means that if this kind of use cases, if this kind of applications will occur in the market, so that I'm sure that the legislators and regulator bodies will check them and will do something about on the blockchain or other cryptocurrency thing. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. May I have you on the seat, please? Thank you. So if you have any questions for these gentlemen on the stage, so feel free to shoot them. Yes, please. Yeah, we have a microphone.
Well, thank you very much. Since three of you, you are from different jurisdictions. I mean, Monese from the UK. I mean, it is an EU jurisdiction as far as I know still. So, I mean, Privatbank from Ukraine, it's not an EU jurisdiction, but as well as, E-Güven from Turkey. You are subject to different regulatory environments. How do you deal with them as you are also coming from the different parts of the industry? I mean, it's a challenger bank, it's a large bank with digital services as well as a KYC technology provider.
So let's start from the left.
So E-Güven is actually a digital certificate service provider. So we think that KYC is one of the most important issue for that. So KYC is one of the most important thing for the banks, but most important for the customers actually. We have to ease their life. So if we have better KYC applications, that means that we can ease the life of the customer much better. So you know that like a city in Istanbul, it's not so easy to go somewhere to a place to have physically to go somewhere and to sign a contract. For example, sometimes banks ask them to come to the branches and sign something. Or if you're a lawyer, for example, and if you want to do something in the UYAP environment, so you don't have to go to Kartal or to another part of the city. So if we try to be able to make life easier for the citizens, that will work, I think. On the other hand, I can say that digital signature application is in a horizontal work. So today we are in presentation for the banks. About 2 days later, maybe we will have a presentation for the logistics sector. Then we'll talk about with the lawyers, then with a number of different sectors. So KYC is a horizontal solution. If you can solve it in a good way, that means that you should solve it in vertical sectors as well.
Norris, would you like to carry on?
Yeah, KYC is a tricky bit, isn't it? So from day one, we started thinking. We literally spent 2 years before we even launched. We spent on figuring out how to do KYC on a global scale. So it's not easy even if you do it in one country. How do you do KYC when we're talking about entire world? So we started from the easy stuff. So we got regulated by the FCA in the UK. We looked at all the money regulations that were out there in Europe. I was the first guy who actually wrote the money laundering policies and so on. So as a CEO, it's quite useful actually to know what your company does. So we got regulated by the FCA, and luckily we have this thing called passporting in EU, which means that once you're regulated by one European country, you can actually passport your services, and you can apply your KYC techniques across Europe, which is really handy and useful. But now Brexit is happening, right? So, well, we got regulatory coverage outside UK also now, so we effectively have, even after Brexit, we are able to do what we do in passport. Now, Europe is actually relatively straightforward. Italy is an interesting one, where customers are coming into our platform with handwritten documents, passports, and so on. It's tricky. There is no good solution there. Lots of manual work involved. But other than that, I mean, using great companies, e-KYC companies. Basically, how we are approaching KYC is that we are purchasing data about customers from all over the place. Customers coming from, let's say, Germany, we, instead of looking at UK Experian or trying to do some sort of a credit searches in order to find address matches and so on, we're actually going back to the source and trying to harvest information and put it together in a meaningful way. We even use, geolocation, we use social media, everything. So we're taking all these data points, putting into our engine that is proprietary, and we're trying to make sense of all this mess. And once we have a good comfort level, then we are able to make a decision whether now we can actually open an account for this person or not, and whether our regulator will actually be okay with it, and whether our partner banks will be okay with it. And we also know that in order to be taken seriously, we have to actually overdo stuff. So right now we believe that we are heavily overdoing KYC, and we are being audited left, right, and center by all the people in the supply chain here. Now this is UK, this is Europe, easy stuff. What do you do with Americans? What do you do with Chinese? That's a tricky one. And obviously I don't have all the answers right now figured out. So what I do know is that we are going to be regulated in 20 jurisdictions in the next year or two. We are applying licenses as we go. We are figuring it out. We are partnering with local banks in every jurisdiction. Hopefully one day we will be able to also serve people here in Turkey if we are able to find a good partner here. So which also means that we don't necessarily have to apply for a license in every jurisdiction. We could partner with a local bank, use their regulatory umbrella, launch a service powered by X bank or X bank powered by Monese. This sort of a setups would also work quite well. And this means that once we are able to satisfy local regulators, local banks, then we are able to do what we do. Very long answer.
So you have one or two things to say about regulation. I can see
Yeah.
that.
So
And what about
can you repeat the question?
So would you like to repeat the question? So
Yeah, the question about regulation, how we solve it, yeah? Okay, so compared to my two colleagues, we are not a global company, we are a local company. If you're a local company, so you have to manage with only one regulator, and if you have more than 60% of the market, it's quite easy to, let's say, convince the regulator, to be more innovative. So yeah, our regulator is pretty innovative because of that, and it's easy to manage. The KYC, for example, our employees use only tablets to make service for customers, and for example, we absolutely don't use the paper in our branches, so they just have to make photo with tablets, and customer can sign on the screen of the tablet without any papers, without any pens and pencils, and of course it was it's what headache for the regulator, such approach, but we ask them, we say, okay, we have a lot of customers and we can reduce the costs of KYC, and we can make our customers much happy, so let's try. So we receive, how to say that, so the regulator said, okay, this one bank can do this. Yeah, that's how we manage. But the biggest problem in our case, who is the biggest enemy for innovations? It's like lawyers. Yeah, corporate lawyers inside our bank. The second one is this guy, security. Yeah, IT security. And the third one is accountant who have to pay for all this innovation. So it's much more harder to convince that guys than regulator.
So maybe we should have asked the question to the regulator of Ukraine.
Yeah.
How do you deal with private banks? So any other questions for these guys? A lady from the back. So you have the microphone. Okay, you can ask the second.
Okay. My name is Rayan Arif. I'm actually, live in the US and I'm involved in a lot of the banking innovations. I'm just curious, you've talked about some amazing ideas that are taking place in Europe and other parts of the world, but until just towards the end, nobody's mentioned the US. What's your opinion, and why do you not have any plans to expand out in the US, or do you see a lot of challenges? I know we have a lot of challenges.
Who are you asking that question?
Any one of them, that's fine.
Do you have any plans to expand in the US?
I can answer first. Yeah, I think eventually we will end up in the US also. Historically, it was pretty tricky because of the 50 states and getting regulated in 50 states, like a massive amount of work for. But right now, for example, because we are so light and flexible, we are willing to work with banks. We are able to use banks as platforms and so on in many instances. That luckily, right now in the US, there are multiple platforms that are regulated in all 50 states. So it's actually pretty straightforward to launch. Now, leaving the technical nuances aside and KYC aside, then marketing and how do you approach your new markets, and that's a different story altogether. And I must say, US is not on our roadmap in the next sort of a year, at the moment at least. We are more focused on Asian markets and also Middle East. We feel that the problems that we're actually trying to solve, hopefully it was clear enough earlier, but we are a financial inclusion business. We are enablers. We are trying to work, trying to make life easier for those people who are typically excluded. And it could be any of you guys, myself, if you go to a new country and so on. So it's affecting anyone, and it would be, we should not think that those people are poor or starving or have no money. That's not the case at all. So it's regular people. But yeah, coming back to the US, US is a tricky one. There is lots of things that you have to consider. Even right now, if Americans onboard our platform, we have to, start reporting back to the governments and so on. It's not easy at all, but there is still opportunity, and the financial inclusion is pretty massive actually in the US. So I think the short answer is yes, we are possibly going to the US, but maybe in the next 5 years or so.
Okay, the next question might be...
Can I answer? Yeah,
sure.
We are, as a bank, of course, we don't have plans to expand on US market because we have 8,000 banks, on US market. But as for my opinion about US market, we tried to sell our technologies on US market, to US banks. And, the US banks are too conservative to create something new. So I believe, it's my personal opinion, that Visa and MasterCard will lead the market in US. Visa and MasterCard is IT companies, innovative companies. They created, hundreds of APIs and etc. But US banks are so regulated, they're scared about creating new technology. As you may know, they have all this legacy software on the back end, and some banks even have that old IBM mainframes from the 80s. So it's absolutely not innovative market. Apple, Facebook, Google, and Visa and MasterCard will lead the financial market of it. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
Maybe I can give a short answer. So I'm sorry for interrupting you. So for us, actually, we are a digital signature service provider, and it's easy for us to be able to expand our market for EU because all regulations are almost same, and the Turkish digital signature law meet all the requirements of the European requirements as well. Because digital signature technology is almost same in the continental Europe, but in US it's completely different. Digital signature is technology, requirements, procedures are completely different. That's why it's not easy for us as a digital signature service provider to be able to sell our digital signature products in US. But maybe in the future, if we have different kind of products that not bind to the digital signature, it might be possible for us as well.
Okay, so let's finally have your question.
Yeah. I'm Hilal Sare from Doğan News Agency. My questions will be for Mr. Avetisov from Privatbank. So you told us that you caused some jobs of skill jobs, actually, the jobs of developers. So up to now, the disruptive technology is used to cancel normal jobs with not high skills requirements. But now innovation causing the jobs of innovators, actually, as you said. I mean, you have now less developer. You're canceling. What do you think about this? And that platform about e-democracy, is it anonymous? I mean, does government know who votes for what?
Okay. So the answer for the first question, actually developers are not innovators. Yeah, developers just write the code. Innovators, business people are innovators. If the guy can, have two competence, business and developing, it's a cool. But it's not developer who creates a new product. This is business people creates new product. In their mind, they create a business plan. They create the algorithm of the new product, new service. And after that, he will go to developer and say, okay, guys, you have to create this product. So the second part of the question, we didn't fire these guys because, as I mentioned, we have hundreds of APIs. And developers now maintain APIs, develop the systems. So we didn't spend that very highly paid people for maintain, the business logic. The business people responsible for business logic. The IT people responsible for IT systems. And now we have 1,000 developers working for us, and we have 2,000 certified managers and business analysts who build the business logic inside this system that I mentioned before. As for voting and elections, we're working with local governments. I mean, with governments of the Kiev, and of course, Kiev the government have to know the person who vote for something. I mean. The government of the Kiev should be aware, yeah? What's the point here? So they have to be sure that this is me, the citizen of the Kiev, who lives on the street, who lives on the apartments with the number, vote for something that Kiev has to do. So, of course, yes. But unfortunately, we didn't have political votings yet. We didn't have political votings. It's absolutely another story, and I believe the blockchain will help us here. So, but I think it's not the story of shortest time. I think it's like at least 5 years.
Okay, thank you for your contributions. We're running really out of time, and we are really behind the schedule. So I have to stop here for a coffee break just for 10 minutes. So be here in 10 minutes, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much.